it's a big thanks to one of the interns who came to us through Artbound initiative. What I'm holding in my hand is a real book, which we just published 3 weeks ago, and which was designed from start to the end by one of the interns.
Petr, thank you so much for joining us for our ABI Company Talks. It's really exciting to be able to chat with you, the founder and owner of Hošek Contemporary, and looking forward to this conversation about your gallery, interns, how you hire, and all the details. But maybe just to start off, if you wouldn't mind giving everybody a little bit of an introduction of who you are and also about your gallery.
Thank you very much for the invite. Thank you, Artbound Initiative, for this amazing, great opportunity. It's really a big honor to talk to you. Yeah, it's a great honor to be invited to talk about art, to talk about art gallery, and about projects we have been doing actually last 10 years. Maybe I should actually just start up with one thing which we just launched 2 weeks ago, and it's a big thanks to one of the interns who came to us through Artbound initiative. What I'm holding in my hand is a real book which we just published 3 weeks ago, and which was designed from start to the end by one of the interns who came from the University of Singapore through Artbound initiative. So Hošek Contemporary is an art gallery located in Berlin on a cargo ship from 1910. It's a boat which is actually older than Titanic, and we run art residency, theater, and a contemporary art gallery, and the cargo hold spaces of this beautiful ship. In Berlin, contemporary art is a big thing. There is a lot of artists living. It's a city which is alive, and it attracts a lot of creative people, a lot of people seeking for freedom, a lot of people who would like to try new things. And it's also Mecca or a capital of music. So these are all things which are reflected in our program. Hošek Contemporary is a place of meeting people of different ideas. It's a place where we nurture connections between audience, trying to find something new for themselves, and also artists who like to present their ideas and art to the audience or to other artists and art lovers. So Hošek Contemporary is a place where all this happens. We are a team of 3 curators, and usually we have between 3 and 4 interns coming from all around the world through different channels. One of them is Artbound Initiative. Another one is, for example, the Erasmus Plus program. So that's pretty much about the profile of the place, which I founded in 2016, and now in 2026 is still on and going quite well.
Excellent. Well, I have a lot of questions coming out of that, and I want to double down on one point in case, people who are listening to this or seeing this later didn't quite catch on it, which is that the gallery is actually on a boat, right? And the boat is in Berlin, and you're mainly parked in one space, correct? That allows people to board the boat, view your shows, view the different types of either exhibitions or live shows that you have going on. And then sometimes you said you actually take the boat, on the water and sail it a little bit around for a show. Can you tell us a little bit about, I just want to hear a bit more about the concept. Like, how did you find this boat, first of all? How did you find this ship? Like, what was the process like? Were you looking for a ship, or somebody came to you and said, hey, I have a 1910 cargo ship, would you like to buy it and do something with it? Like, what happened?
Well, I would recommend all your people from the audience to buy the book. The whole story is there.
Okay, excellent.
It's a little advertisement for a beautiful, beautiful book. But I will tell you the story in person. I run an art gallery since 2012. Actually, I was based in Prague. In 2014, I moved to Berlin. I opened my gallery here in Berlin. And we were looking for bigger space because me and my colleague, we had space around 30, 40 meters square, and we wanted something bigger. I was back in the days working with artist and architect Gil Ross. And Gilras was looking for a studio for his art practice and also for his architecture practice. And he's from Frankfurt, and he moved to Berlin, and he was looking and looking and looking. And at one point he found an advertisement for an art studio. And we went to see it, and when we went to see it, we realized that it's a cargo ship, and there were two huge spaces. One was 150 meters square, one was 100 meters square, plus two studios in really, really bad conditions. But the space was in the center of Berlin, in Mitte, and it was a huge potential. And we decided that we will try to get a contract for the space. And that was the boat. So the boat was owned by the historic port of Berlin. It was anchored at slightly different place than it is currently right now. And it was available to rent. So we prepared a project, we talked to the owners, we come up with some ideas what could be done in the first month, how long it would take to actually make it livable or make it okay for people to come there. It took a while, because the owner of the boat it's kind of a complicated situation when you have a non-profit association which is members based. So all the members, or at least the board of the directors, has to agree on something if they want to do something. And even though they liked us, even though the idea of having art gallery or architect studio for artists on the board was what they wanted, they were not sure if they want to work with us. So the whole process from the visit to signing the contract and getting the keys, it took 10 months. Yeah, in Anglo-Saxon world, you have kind of like things go fast. You read an advertisement, you meet the owner, you see the property. Maybe you saw it in the morning, afternoon you meet the owner, maybe evening you're already signing the contract because the guy wants the money, blah, blah. And you start everything the day after. Not at all like that in Germany. They say, du musst warten, alles ist langsam, you have to wait, everything takes time. So we waited 10 months, and obviously my friend, as an architect, as an architect with projects, he couldn't wait that long. So he actually dropped out of the project, he found another space, and in the meanwhile they decided that what we propose is good, and they offered me to sign a contract. So I ended up with the whole ship, even though the idea was to have just half of it.
Excellent. Is the ship still owned by the nonprofit organization?
Yes.
Operating on it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually probably was a benefit to you to not have to take over the cost of an entire ship, right? And every bit of ownership. Sometimes
it's good, sometimes it's bad. There are pros and cons to renting or owning. One of the pros is that I can fully focus on the program. I can fully focus on what the gallery is about. I can fully focus on the performances, curating, invitations for people. And when it comes to the technical aspects of dealing with the ship, for example, dealing with the authorities, dealing with the authority of the water, Wasserschaftamt, when it comes to taking the boat to the dockyard to do the every 5 years review if everything is working, if the motor is working, if the thickness of the steel on the bottom of the ship is thick enough. I don't want to bother you with all the details, but basically the owner is responsible for that. So as I understood, having such a huge ship, it's actually 60 meters long. It takes also some time and energy to take care of all those technical things. And because we are not the owner, we run the ship, I don't have to deal with that, and I can focus on what is my domain, the art gallery.
And the downside?
The downside, the landlord always wins in every business. The rent has to be paid every month, so it doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how successful your year was. The rent has to be paid. So that's always the downside. But I would say it's the downside of every single business or every single thing you run as someone who is not owning the space or a building.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it's a very cool concept, and it's really interesting that you were able to come across that opportunity and also win the bid or win the contract for it, right? To rent the entire space. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit more about the types of shows and the types of artists that you have, and how you also find those shows and artists. What's kind of the mix? What's the feel and the vibe, and how do you find them? How do you source them?
So we basically have three kind of circles or three kind of directions where we go. The first one is our visual arts program. The artists we work with, we usually find through an open call, which is in the autumn, in October, in November. And the open call is called Hošek Contemporary Prize, and it's a little bit like Christmas gift, because we usually announce the winners the day before Christmas.
Oh,
on
nice.
on 23rd of December. And the idea is that people are invited to work with us, to have a budget, to have the space for themselves. And we usually have between 350, 400 entries in this open call. And from those 350 to 400 entries, we usually select around, I would say, 20 to 30 we really like, and basically the three best gets a budget and gets to work with us. And with the rest of the projects which are in this top 20 or top 30, we try to find project funding, or we try to find the ways to work anyway on some sort of different level. And it works quite well. Last 6 years, it worked like that. So it's kind of like a tradition. Then we have the second pillar of our program is the music series called Improvise and Experimental. It's a platform for contemporary musicians, contemporary dancers, sound makers, and everything in between. Basically, we present 2 trios or 2 projects every Wednesdays from March 1st until the end of November. So in the frame of the series, there are usually between 150 to 200 artists a year. And it's something what was going on since November 2016. So it's also quite established. It's something what attracts people. And we have application for this. We have ongoing application all the time. So people just write, hey, I have been to your venue. I've seen Improvise and Experimental on Wednesday. I'd like to play maybe next year, maybe in 2 years. So people usually approach us. But I also go to different venues. I also visit different festivals. For example, we just had a Fusion Festival in Germany the past week. So I also choose, and also my other two colleagues, other 2 curators have their own artists or events they attend. So it's like a living organism. And the third thing is our art residency. So we basically have 2 apartments at the boat. So if you're an artist and you have an interesting project and you send me your portfolio, maybe you get invited to come to live on a boat, to experience the venue itself and work with us. So we have residents coming from Tasmania Island, we have residents coming from Venice, we have residents, right now we have a musician from Japan staying in the residency. Sometimes we have artists coming from Boston or from United States. Sometimes we have Brazilian artists staying in the residency. So it's super international, and all of the people who come, they bring their way of thinking. And sometimes there are challenges. We had Korean resident who didn't speak any other language than Korean, and unfortunately none of our members of the team speak Korean, so we were just like using this translator and writing each other messages. So yeah, there's always a way, but sometimes there are a lot of interesting challenges.
It's cool that you have, so you have, just to recap, so you have maybe 3 or 4 funded visual artists per year, and then you have other visual artists if they can find funding. And then you have the live shows that are going on. You also have residency programs. So I was looking at your website in terms of the number of shows that you have happening this year, for example, and it's quite a lot between the live shows and the visual arts, gallery shows. You're having a lot happen throughout the year and managing a lot of different shows, which is great. It means that you're having a lot of artists and a lot of people interested in what you're doing. How do you then get the word out about the shows? I mean, I'm sure a lot of your job may be, I assume, marketing these shows and making sure that there are people coming through and interested in the work. Is that a big part of what you do, and is it challenging, or have you built a name for yourself in Berlin that people are, naturally checking out your roster and figuring out that they want to come?
It's a big challenge. PR is, I would say, if not the most important thing, the second most important thing, because we have quite a lot of art spaces in Berlin. There is so many, I don't know the exact number, but if you look at some directory about art spaces in Berlin, you will find hundreds, maybe thousands of spaces. And everyone is trying to attract audience. Everyone is trying to get the people to see their shows and to see the exhibitions and so on. So since we do 150 events a year, including exhibitions, dance performances, music performances, sound installations, residencies, obviously we don't have full house during every event. But there are, I think, few things which needs to be done constantly. You constantly have to be going out. You constantly have to be talking to other people and saying, hey, we are doing this, we are doing that. And ideally, you need to have a lot of friends who are also outgoing and who spread the word, because Berlin is a place where people really get information by talking to other people. We don't get people to the venue because we make an advertisement or because we make a post on Instagram. You really get people to the venue only because you have been talking to other people. So you really have to be a socialite. You really have to be out there all the time. So that's one of the main things. And we are in the center of Berlin, in Mitte, south part of the Museum Island. So we are quite well reachable by public transport. It makes a big difference if it takes 20 minutes to get to the venue or if it takes 1 hour. So I think the location is super important. Another thing is affordability. So all of our art exhibitions and art openings are for free. And the performances or music events, we have been debating about this in the past years, but at one point I just stopped the discussions completely about it. So basically, to access our shows, you pay 10 euros.
Yeah, I saw it was quite low price. So
It also makes a big difference, because you have a lot of shows in Berlin where you can go and you can see great stuff for 20, 25 euros. But if you talk to people, what people get pissed, like literally pissed most in Berlin, is how much entry you pay in the clubs. Mm-hmm. When I moved to Berlin, you would pay 5 to 10, 12 euros to enter a club, even a good club, good party. And we are talking about 2015. 11 years later, to enter a club or a place, you pay 28, 35, 45. If it's something exclusive, like, I don't know, birthday of Berghain, you go much higher. So this is what bothers 99% of people. So the price of accessibility. And we will still go to party because they want to enjoy and so on. But we are an art venue. It takes a little bit of effort to be there and so on. So keeping the price at 10 euros consistently for last, I would say, 6 years also makes a big difference. Yeah, because a lot of places just become more expensive during Corona, then raise of the rent, blah, blah. And people just stop going there because, people don't have that much money. So making it affordable also is a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed that it was so affordable to come to the shows. You know, I'm a little bit less in touch with the Berlin art scene and what's going on there than you are, and obviously. And it's interesting to see that affordability is a big thing to bring attraction. I mean, it makes sense. But I was just looking at it thinking, wow, this is actually quite a reasonable price to see these types of shows. It's great. Let's talk a little bit about your team and get to interns, which I'm interested to talk about, of course. Tell me a little bit. You said you have 3 curators and you have 3 to 4 interns at a time. Could you describe a little bit the structure that you have in place and how that works, especially for the junior staff that you have on?
We have 3 curators, including me. There is a music curator, Guilherme Rodrigues from Portugal. His domain is the sound installations, the artists who are producing music, producing sound, and he's doing 90% of the program of the Wednesdays, improvised and experimental. Then we have Linda. She's currently working as a main curator for the new building of National Museum of Finland in Helsinki. She's mostly responsible for the exhibitions which are happening in the gallery space. And I do everything. I do partly the music, I do partly the shows, I do partly the residency, and I also just like put everything together, make everything work. And then we usually have 3 to 4 interns, partly coming from Artbound initiative, partly coming through Erasmus. So currently we have 3 interns through Artbound initiative, Ryan, Isaiah, and Sutton. Mm-hmm. And we have 2 interns from the Architecture School of Venice who are coming through Erasmus, Carlota and Margarita. It really depends on how many hours each intern is working. So, for example, with Artbound initiative, the average is that the interns work 25 hours a week, which covers usually 3 to 4 shifts a week. And I think that works very good. Through Erasmus, sometimes we have people coming to work with us only like 15 hours a week, but sometimes we have really like full-time working intern, like 40 hours a week. So depending on how many hours the person works, they could get involved in more important or less important tasks.
And you said, I happen to see, I'm looking at your website right now. I happen to see that there's an opening reception end of July that mentions those 3 names that you just said, Isaiah, Ryan, and Sutton. Can you tell me a little bit about that reception that's happening and what's going on there?
So usually when we have new interns, we do the onboarding. You learn how to open, close the space. You learn what the space is about. And usually the first 2 weeks, everyone is completely lost. You can't really do much with the newcomers. There's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of like things which are not correct, but that's how it is. Everyone learns. And after a while, you learn the routine. And then it comes to the time when I usually ask if the interns would be up to presenting their own work or coming up with a curatorial concept or, other artists who they would like to invite and work in the space. The space we have is very challenging in the sense of the size. It's very old, so you kind of have to think a lot about how to work with the space. But it's also a beautiful challenge. So most of the times, the intern says yes. They present one group project together. So this time, Ryan, Sutton, and Isaiah also invited another person from Singapore University who is in Berlin through Artbound initiative, but not working for me, but working for someone else. I don't even know for who, but she's an artist and designer. Mm-hmm. So they are doing a group show presenting by the end of July, which is also the time. It's like a last week of Ryan, who is with us since May 11th. So they will basically all present their own work, a little bit more advanced curatorial concept. So Sutton is...
That's amazing. That's a great opportunity for them to be able to present their work within a gallery. And that 4th person is Kaylee, right? That's going to be there.
Right. Yeah. So everyone is working in their own medium, and they also come up with the text and curatorial concept, how to sort of put everything together. Because making an art show, it's not just about hanging things here and there, but you have to have some sort of a concept to neither create a narrative or completely destroy the narrative, depends on the methodologies you are working with. That's all I have to tell you. If you want to know more, please come on 28th of July to the boat. From 7 o'clock, we'll have the art opening.
That's incredible. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, that's really exciting, and I can't wait to hear more about it or see some photos or videos about this show, which would be incredible. And I'd like to learn a little bit more about what makes a standout intern for you, and what are some of the qualities that you look for, in somebody that you're bringing on at that very junior level, that make them really a good intern and a good potential candidate for future hire, even. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, 100% the attitude. Yeah, you really have to be passionate about what you're doing. You really want to be doing what you're doing, because that's the most important thing. Sometimes people come to Berlin because they are looking for themselves. They are a bit lost. They are trying to find new things. There's nothing wrong about that, but what I really appreciate is if people have like a real determination. They really want to work on art. They want to work on creating community. They want to learn new things. They are sometimes divas. They tell you, oh, this is wrong. We really want to do it this way. Like I really look for a character. I really look for somebody who is not just like standing around and following what we say, but trying to contribute, trying to come up with their own ideas, trying to also say their opinion. Because what I'm doing 14 years, and sometimes you also, as a CEO or founder, you kind of start to fall a little bit into a routine. So for me, it's also very healthy to have around people who have their own opinions and who are willing to have a discussion. And I'm not a person who is afraid of conflicts or who is afraid of hearing a different opinion. For me, it's very important. So, for example, when we were doing this book with Ryan, I didn't actually tell him which pictures to put in. I just tell him, here are all the pictures we took, and you choose the pictures which will be in. And there are hundreds of pictures, and he chooses pictures I wouldn't choose, but it's like the outer eye, which makes things a little bit more interesting. Because if you ask someone else, what do you think is interesting about Hošek Contemporary? What do you think? Which pictures are nice? So they tell a completely different story than I do, and sometimes it's actually much more interesting because you have this distance from the things.
So let's talk about that book then. That Ryan helped you to create. How did the process go? Did you leave everything in his hands, or was there an editorial process from you? What was his involvement overall in that project?
I think it goes back to the phone call I had with the CEO of Artbound initiative, and she told me that she would like me to give our interns meaningful tasks, something what really makes them challenge, or what might appear on their portfolio of something interesting. And when I think about it, I was like, okay, well, then let's do something challenging. And day one of Ryan, I told him in 3 weeks I would like to print a book. Here is all our archives. Everything is perfectly organized. I have to say, despite the both looks sometimes a little bit chaotic, our archives and who we work with and all the pictures we have, like everything is perfectly organized. We have everything available on the webpage. There is like archive of all the performances dating back to 2016, all the exhibitions we have done back to 2016. So yeah, up to Ryan was just go through every single thing. Then of course I had the concept of the book, like the structure, what should be the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, my foreword, the other curators' foreword, the curatorial text we would like to have in the book, and that was it. Then he just had to put everything in the right order. Yeah, of course, in Germany, things are a little bit different than in Singapore when it comes to printing. So we went to the printing company. We had 2 or 3 consultations regarding how to actually turn the PDF file into the printing file for the German company, which kind of paper we should use and so on. How does it work with the ISBN, the international codes here? I would say, yeah, Ryan did really 90% of the work. Yeah.
Amazing.
So he's extremely talented. I was absolutely amazed, and he came up with ideas. He came up with solutions for things I have no idea about. So I was absolutely impressed. Like all of my colleagues were really impressed, and we love the book. Everyone loves the book, and I'm very proud of what Ryan come up with. It's amazing.
Excellent. I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm sure that, I'm going to share this also with NTU, with his homeschool, so that they can feel that benefit also of their talent going out into the world and doing incredible things. So I'm really happy to hear, those good words. Tell me a little bit about how you actually look for this type of talent when you're interviewing interns. You mentioned that having a passion and dedication for what they do is what's important. Does that come across as confidence, or does that come across as curiosity? What are some of the things that you look for in the interview process that might flag you towards a good potential candidate?
I think it's always a dialogue. We work during last, I don't know, even in Prague and then in Berlin, I had during my time working as a gallerist, I think the amount of interns, I think we are right now at something like 180, 190 in last 14 years. So I have worked with all kind of people, all kind of different people from different environments, from film industry, from porn industry, from visual arts, from graphic design, from really like fields which are not really related to art. But yeah, it always comes back to the attitude. It always comes back to what you want to do, how you approach things, how you think about things, what you're interested in. Yeah, sometimes you have people who are just like nice to be around, who are just like good part of the team. Yeah, because we're 7 people or 8 people depending on the season. So yeah, you can have sometimes someone who is completely educated in arts, who knows everything about arts, but they have just like really bad social skills, and then it just doesn't work. Yeah, I wouldn't say that there is like just like one way, like every person is different. There is always different energy. So yeah, for me, most important is if you're interested in what you're doing, if you're not just like a person following orders.
Yeah, so just coming in with, what I hear from you is just coming in with both curiosity but intent as well, and then ability to gel well with the team, socially, and with the team culture overall are things that help some people stand out during that time. Is that correct?
What we do is also creating a community. We have visitors who come every Wednesday. We have this lady, her name is Ute. She's 89 years old, and despite her age and challenges which comes with this age, she comes every single Wednesday. She comes every single Wednesday for last 3-4 years. And she comes because she loves what we are doing. She likes to support us, and everyone loves her. And she always finds time to talk with every new intern and tell them about, what is the boat about from her own perspective. And, people like this are really inspiring me to keep going, because if you see that there is the response from the audience, there are people who love to come, it also gives you a meaning. It gives you, okay, what we are doing is actually very important for people, and people actually make sacrifices, and they, walk a certain way from out of their comfort zone to be here every Wednesday. We have to keep going. It's super important for the community. There are people who love us. There are people who want to come. So I think this is very important also for the people we work with. They really have to want to work with us. They really have to want to be part of that. Yeah. Not just like, okay, I work 5 hours.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Like what's the purpose of being there? What's their reason for being there is important.
And also, you come for 3 months. You come to Berlin. It's the time for you to like what you're doing. It's the time for you to have a good time. Like maybe in 10 years you will end up working in shitty place, and you will be like checking in, checking out. But for me, it's important that this 3 months you come to Berlin. You really have to have a good time and like what you're doing. I think it's super important.
I think for interns, 3 months can feel like such a long period of time before they do it. Sometimes they feel like, oh, this is a big period of my life, 3 months being somewhere else. And then it goes by so quickly, and then they always come back, and they're like, wow, that was fast, and I wish I was still there, So it's a very short period of time, actually, but
Absolutely.
a meaningful and impactful one in their life. Well, great. I have a few kind of quick fire questions here, that we always do. So for you, when you're looking at talent, would you say that portfolio or personality is more important?
Personality.
Personality, great. Yeah, I was thinking that since you had just answered that. And how about degree or experience?
I would say 50-50. Yeah. That sometimes you work with people with no experience and it's super nice. And sometimes you work with someone with really good degree and it's also super nice. So I can't decide on this one.
Yeah. Okay, so 50-50. Fair enough. Speed or perfection, which is more important for you?
Perfection. We love to work with divas. Perfect things are nice. Yeah.
You're in a visual world, right? So like
Absolutely.
Things need to look good.
Yeah, like the tile has to be 1 millimeter this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your show's being trend driven or being timeless, in the type of work that you show and the type of way that you put things together.
We work with contemporary art, so in that sense, the first one. But for example, the designs, or for example, the book or our webpage, timelessness is nice. So it really depends on the field we are talking about. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Excellent. AI or human led?
I think this is kind of clear, human.
Yes, I couldn't have imagined you would go the other way, but it was curious, of course. Excellent. And any final pieces of advice for young creatives, young students, fresh graduates looking to get their foot in the door, work their way into the arts world? Any piece of advice for them?
I think I was 21 or 22. Which is usually around the time when the interns come to us. I did my Erasmus in Spain and I didn't speak the language. I didn't know anything about Madrid, the capital, and I just come there from Prague, where I come from. And I got completely lost. The first 2 days I was just crying and crying and crying, and I was like hating myself and I didn't know what I'm doing. It's just fair what stops you from doing things. It doesn't matter. Just go for it. It will be fine.
Yeah. So kind of break through the fear and just enjoy that part of your life, right?
Yeah. Thinking too much, it's never bring you anywhere. Yeah.
I like that. It's a good piece of advice. Excellent. Well, Peter, thank you so much for this talk. It was really nice. Some excellent piece of information. I'm really excited to share this with the broader audience and have people see both what you do, but also the insights into how you operate and what you look for in a team. So this was great. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was really an honor to be invited and to be part of this series you're doing. And I'm really happy for this interview, and we talk again in the future.
I would love that. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.